State Senator Bryan Hughes, thank you for being here with me today. Let's talk about Senate Bill 31. Now, this has not been voted on in the House yet, but it passed the Senate unanimously. And let's start off with that. What was your reaction to it getting bipartisan support?
Very encouraged. The right to life is important to many of us in East Texas. The abortion issue can be divisive. It's so personal. It's so difficult in many ways, but virtually everyone agrees that the life of the mother should be protected. When the life of the mother is in danger, we agree on that. And so that's what Senate Bill 31 is about. So we're very encouraged to have a unanimous bipartisan vote on that bill.
Now, there has been, criticism towards the Heartbeat Act, which you played a key role in putting forth. Did you hear from, constituents in the district about concerns regarding the medical exception? Was it, sort of a broad thing you heard from folks across the state or even nationally? I'm curious just what brought it, to your attention.
What we learned was that most physicians and most hospitals are following the law. And when a mom has a medical emergency, they are treating her. An ectopic pregnancy, for example. The little baby's not going to make it and the mom is in danger. We had a handful of doctors, not in our part of the world, but a handful of doctors around the state that were refusing to treat ectopic pregnancies. Now, that's not what the law says. They were violating the law. They were committing malpractice in many cases and blaming Texas law. Texas law has always provided the exception for the life of the mother. So we were concerned that because some docs were confused and some stories in the national media were adding to the confusion, we want to remove any doubt about what the law is about a medical emergency. And so there were news stories around the state. We heard from a couple of moms who'd had difficult experiences. That's what led us to file this bill.
So then let me ask, does this bill change anything, or does it really just seek to clarify, when an abortion can be performed?
This bill clarifies the life of the mother exception. It does not add exceptions. In Texas, we love the mom and we love that little baby, and we can save the baby's life while we love and respect and support the moms. That's why we put hundreds of millions of dollars in the Thriving Texas Families program to help moms with prenatal care, to help moms after the baby comes along. We do a lot to help the moms. We want to do more. So this does not add exceptions. When the life of the mother is in danger, that's always been Texas law. And this goes through every statute to make sure the language is crystal clear, because we don't want any doctor to have an excuse to hesitate. And also in this bill, we require that doctors be trained on what the law is. When we passed the heartbeat law in 2021, we used the same medical emergency language that had been in the law for over a decade because we didn't want to confuse doctors or hospitals. Still, in spite of that, even though we used the exact same words that had been there for decades, still a few doctors and hospitals were getting it wrong. And so that's why Senate Bill 31 makes the language crystal clear and consistent and requires doctors to be trained on what the law is.
Let me go off of that. What do you think this means for physicians in Texas?
It means if you're a physician in Texas and you provide care related to obstetrics, gynecology, when you renew your license or when you receive your license, if you're a new doc, you'll be required to take this course. If you don't take the course, you don't renew your license. So what does that mean? It means that doctors will know what the law is so that in those rare cases where a mom's life is in jeopardy, when the life's in danger, so the doc knows what to do and doesn't hesitate.
My understanding that there was some discussion about changing some words in this bill over time. I was speaking with Senator Sarah Eckhart earlier, and she mentioned how there was some language she wanted added to the bill that got her support for it, that got her to vote for it. What was that process like throughout getting this bill on the Senate floor? Was there any language in there that sticks out to you in terms of a bit of compromise?
So we worked with pro-life groups, with medical groups, the Hospital Association, Catholic groups all across the spectrum to get this language worked out. After the bill was filed, some more concerns came up. Some Democratic lawmakers were concerned this would have an effect on an old statute. Some Republican lawmakers were concerned, and so we worked with them to make the language even clearer, because this bill is about the life of the mother, and that's what it focuses on.
And before this interview, if I heard you correctly, you mentioned that this doesn't change any penalties. Walk me through, what the current penalties would be for a doctor or a physician if they perform an abortion when they're not legally allowed to.
So in Texas, elective abortions are illegal. Now, abortions to save the life of the mother are of course treated differently. So in Texas today, there is civil and criminal liability for a doctor who performs an abortion except to save the life of the mother. There's civil liability. The doctor can be sued for that, and the doctor can also face criminal liability. Fines, the doctor's license is at risk. There's a number of matters in place to make sure that's enforced.
Say that a physician performs an abortion to save the life of the mother and they forget to provide documentation or something like that. Can they still go to court over that, or that's not something that would happen?
No, the Texas law is clear about this. And so whenever an abortion is performed in Texas, there's a reporting requirement. That's how we know that since the heartbeat law and since Roe versus Wade was overturned, many physicians and doctors have performed abortions to save the life of the mother. We know because there's a reporting requirement. Of course, doctors have to follow the law, but there are no traps or anything like that. If a doctor is acting based on reasonable medical judgment to save the life of the mother, that doctor is protected as they should be.
If this law is signed by the governor, what impact do you feel it would have on Texans overall?
It's going to make doctors clear on what the law is. And it's going to mean for moms in those rare situations when a pregnancy is threatening her life, when the mom, these are moms who want to have babies, who want to go forward, but their lives are in jeopardy. It's going to mean for those moms, doctors and hospitals will follow the law, will follow their medical responsibilities, and give her the care she needs.